Now we start.
Any one of these 12 elements can sabotage your novel. But don't feel bad,
shit.
they're actually pretty common mistakes that a lot of writers make. And plus, as we're going through these, I'll give you advice on how to fix them so it's not all doom and gloom.
Okay.
1. Chekhov's armory.
Chekhov's armory. Nice. Chekhov's armory.
You've probably heard of Chekhov's gun, right? Which is where a gun on the mantelpiece must be shot by the end scene. Basically, it's talking about how when you show things in a book or in a movie, you have to have them come back into the plot because the reader...
Meaning of retarded is a slow, like a slower neurological function. Like your neurons don't fire as fast, and certain functions are either delayed or completely non-functional. And it can cause slurred speech, it can cause lowered IQ, it can cause, what's the word? Not lower quality. It can degrade your imagination and your creativity. But you know what it can't do? You know what being retarded can't do, guys? It can't break your spirit. It can't bring you down. It doesn't mean that you're not a person. Most people are more retarded than actual retards. Does that make sense? Can cause the Whitakers. Every time you say that now... Oh my god, I'm just gonna think of... Oh my god, oh thank you. Now I can use the word retarded freely. I don't think anyone can use it freely since the 90s. But I want to bring retard back because I think it's important for diversity to be able to make fun of... If you can... Guys, this is how I think about, like racism and hate and stuff. If you can't make fun of something, then it has special privileges. Humor is the ultimate path to... I think the use of the word depends on the content. I think it's intent, Luca. Like, we're obviously using it in satire. Ads! Perfect time for ads.
I have a great example, but most PPL hated XD.
Just staring at that timer like, ads, get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here. No one likes you. Go away. Get out. Get out. Gone. Bye. Ads. Bye. Bye, ads. Bye-bye, ads. Bye, ads. Bye. Bye-bye. Bye. See ya. See you next time, ads. Alright. Humor is good, but it depends on the person's intentions. That's the whole point, Luca. This is my example. Bye, Smokey. This is my example. In high school, we had a kid, and he had Down syndrome. And our school had like an entire like wing basically dedicated to like, you know, special needs kids. So the school was like super inclusive. It was super inclusive to the point that this guy was like part of like the cool kids. Like he went to parties, like he was going hard, man. So fucking hard that he died. But it was like...
Man, fuck them kids.
It's the idea that it doesn't matter how dumb, retarded, what medical condition you have or whatever. It's your personality that counts. If you're fucking funny, I wouldn't go to a stand-up comedian show and be offended by their use of certain stereotypes, but on the street, it's another story. Well, it's the way that they're doing it. So it's like if you go up to a kid in high school, right, and you're like making fun of this guy because, like, he's actually retarded, like he has Down syndrome or something like that, or he has some sort of like mental thing, like what the fuck is it called? Prenatal alcohol syndrome or whatever it is. Like, you know, kids that parents drank and then they got like fucked up because their parents were drunk. That kind of shit. Fetal alcohol syndrome. That's what it is. Fetal alcohol syndrome. Stuff like that. It's like, okay, that's not cool. But if you befriend the person and it's a part of banter that is the person has basically opted into, right? Where it's like you're allowing them to make fun of you so that you can feel in the group, because everyone makes fun of everyone, right? And that's how humor can bring people together. So I think people do have distasteful jokes, but I don't think because there are distasteful jokes that certain things should be off limits for humor. Because it's all about the intent at the end of the day. That's why I call myself retarded and I have this emote. And it's like, I have the simian's crease, which people with Down syndrome have. So there's like, every other alternate reality is me with Down syndrome. So this is the one me in the one reality that doesn't have fucking Down syndrome but still has the simian crease. But anyways, back to the thing. Hey guys, he's wearing the same shirt he was wearing last time. Do you guys notice that? He's wearing the same shirt. What did he record these videos back? Pretty sure that's a different reality. I love that. I love that, Levi. That subtext is fucking amazing.
Expect that. Chekhov's armory.
Guys, tell me if you could get the subtext from what Levi's saying there.
Is when you show
that's a great fucking example of subtext.
Whole bunch of guns on the mantelpiece. You show a whole bunch of stuff that's gonna set the reader up for later on in the book. And then you don't do anything about it. The narrative ends up being disappointed because the reader hoped you were gonna do something with all these great material, and yet you leave all the guns unfired. A primo example of this is the television show Lost. I honestly think the early seasons of the show are some of the best storytelling that we have ever seen on the screen. We have all these mysteries going up. How did they not die in the plane crash? What are the others? Who is the smoke monster? Why is this island so mysterious? Why do they have to press that button in the bunker every 108 minutes? So people are on the edges of their seats waiting for the show to fulfill all those early promises.
And it never does.
We're going to a lost party at one of my friend's house. That's what a big cultural phenomenon it was. The trouble though is that all of these fantastic storylines, they didn't get resolved in a very satisfying way. I mean, you could tell the writers were like trying to do something to resolve each of these storylines, but the truth is they had started too many, and then when it came to the end, they just didn't have the narrative
blame the writer's
to be
strike
able to wrap things up. So I'd say the end of that series was one of the worst endings that I've ever seen, and you should
other than
never
Game of
do that
Thrones
to your readers. 2, the everything but the kitchen sink syndrome.
Okay. The everything but the kitchen. I've never heard of this. Sink syndrome, but I'm sure I will have in a different way.
This is when you have so many great ideas for your book and you try to cram them all in. Look, I know you have a great imagination. That's why you became a writer, right? The trouble is you also need a disciplined imagination to know what fits inside the novel and what you're going to have to leave for the next novel. Instead of having...
And that's why I use a lot of my ideas for short stories, because if I have an idea in my head that's not going to work out, like the idea with Duart's is his entire existence and that entire storyline and that prequel is all due to the fact that I need a way to establish how the evolution of the Adventurers Guild goes, so I have a place to work with reference to the past with Husai, and how we can build up like a database of adventurers and something like that. Like, that entire idea is like, I can't put that in the book, but I need to have it in the back of my head somewhere, right? All right, I did that. I've got a massive amount of world building thrown into a world that can't really be explored. That's why you just take those ideas, Beezus, hold on to them, and morph them into another story, another piece of work, right? That's why I say never marry an idea. Everything is up in the air. No matter how much you love it, you're going to have to throw it away. It is what it is. But you don't have to throw it away. You just have to take it out of the story, put it up in here, and be like, okay, when we need it, we'll come back to it. Putting way too much into the story that can't be expressed and breaks between genres/themes.
Having 5 themes, perhaps you need 2 or 1. Instead of having 15 characters, perhaps you need more like 7, with only 3 or 4 of them being really major characters. Instead of having 4 subplots, maybe you only need 1 or 2 subplots. Now later on in this video, I'm gonna get...
Yeah, we got a lot going on in the book. But the main characters, like if we think about it, right? The 4 Warriors of Light, Husai, Varius, Gluttony, and like all of Husai's old party. So like all of Husai's old party all kind of fits under one roof. All the Warriors of Light with their guardians fit under one roof. Kind of all the beastmen and the antagonists, everything fit under that one roof. There is a lot. But there is the consideration that, we don't go and gather like 7 other people. But we need a lot of people. That's kind of the problem. But the prospect of the book is looking at it from, like, the Fire Emblem aspect of, like, Husai being the commander of the party and everyone else being the people that he just orders around and moves. And then having, like, a commander that does, like, immediate moves and stuff like that. So it's a lot like playing, like, a turn-based game while reading a book. That's the vibe that I wanna give with it. That's the unique touch that I want to put onto this book, is to make it read like a turn-based video game. If that's even fucking possible.
We have plenty of examples from books, but for now, let's look at a movie, Jupiter Ascending. Jupiter Ascending got 28% on Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, you've got to work to get as low as 28%.
Discord's being downloaded right now. Just need to wait and also need to create the account. All right, hell yeah, Bomb Dropper. Here is the Discord link for when you're ready. Problem with putting too many people is mostly just either having them be background characters that no one feels attached to, or having so much information crammed for each one into the story that it bogs down the story. But it's like the amount of time that it takes, because you only bring in like 1 or 2 characters at a time, right? Like, you go to each city and you bring in the adventurer and their would-be squire. Then another adventurer and their would-be squire. Has a ton of characters. Yeah. It's just how well you do it, right? And it makes it more difficult with more characters. But we'll see if we can pull it off. Because we need, like, the idea of, like, an MMO. We need, like, 40 fucking characters coming together at the end of it, right? Just like there is at the beginning. This is one of my favorite series of all time because he introduced the world and characters so naturally. Yeah, I feel that, Beezus. character economy is a skill. I believe it. That's why we have it spread out so much. And it's like at extreme pivotal points when these characters come in. So, you know, I doubt 99% of writers should follow in his footsteps. Yeah, I believe it. That's a genius that comes once every 3 or 4 centuries, right? Like, hot take, guys. Hot take. Tolkien's here. George R.R. Martin is like fucking here. Everyone else, this is Tolkien, this is them. Like, that's how phenomenal George R.R. Martin is. Feel like I hear more negative about George R.R. Martin? I don't know. I don't really hear anything. And you look at something like Dune and like Frank Herbert, and it's like, yeah, that's fantastic and stuff, but it's like, divisive. Like, do you mean it like as a person? Because I don't give a fuck what he's like as a person. Like, I don't care if he's a grumpy old piece of shit fuck asshole. I just want to read the books when they're done, if they're finished. I don't want to read them until they're done because I don't want the same thing to happen that happened with Dune. George is a phenomenal writer. People just complain mostly about him being a slow writer. And may not finish the book before he dies. Some people find his work overly cynical. I mean, I could definitely see that, Levi. It is supposed to be this extremely dark, fucked up world. And right off the bat, he immediately basically kills Hope by killing Ned. Like, I think the biggest symbol that Ned has in the story by dying is the death of Hope. That's what I truly believe, that the end of the book has to be everyone dies. The Night King wins. Winter takes everything. The world freezes over. I feel that's the only way for it to end. But it just has to be done in a perfect way. Does that make sense? He's very willing to throw sexual exploitation into the story very often in vivid detail. Some say it's realistic for the setting, while others say it's needless to tackle it as often as he did. Oh, like the Janus? Sir Janus or whatever his name is? The guy who, like, beats up Sansa, and he's at the... Josh Boss 997, thank you for the follow, bro. How's it going? And he goes to the brothel, and it's like, he's like, do you have what I want? And it's like, she's too old. She's too old. And then Arya fucking kills him. What's good? We are discussing George R.R. Martin and Game of Thrones and the explicitity of scenes that possibly go beyond the realm, and I do agree with Beezus with this, because I do have in one of my stories as the origin of one of my characters is a generational level child abuse, but it's only very, very vaguely referenced. It's never outwardly stated, and God, it is never ever actually explicitly written. So I think if you have those themes, the only tactful way to do it is to make small references to it and the cause of it through metaphor without actually, like, saying the scene. And I think the perfect example for this is The Lovely Bones. We all know what he did to Susie. No one needed to read it. Does that make sense? So I completely understand where you're coming from, Beezus. But looking at George R.R. Martin as a writer, I would say he might be the one exception to that. Black Reaper 1269, what's up? Yo, what's good? I'm Josh Boss 779 here from TLC. Mouthwashing does it pretty well, but it's where it's heavy but totally subtextual. Exactly, Levi. It's way under there. Lovely Bones and Streetcar Named Desire. Yeah, I got 2 accounts. Nice, Black Reaper. That's epic. I love it. Hell yeah, brother. I have multiple accounts, too. I just don't know how to get into the other ones. And then there's Zoink, who has like 12 fucking accounts. But it is what it is. So how's it going? Are you a reader? Are you a writer? Are you a purveyor of ideas? Do you enjoy storytelling, creativity, and using your imagination? That's what we do here. And trying to improve our writing skills. I mean, I love Game of Thrones books. I just specifically remember the angry forums from back in the days. I could definitely see it, Beezus, but I'd just say that, like, I could definitely see George R. R. Martin being the exception to that because of how he writes and how explicit things are when he does write. And that's what the show kind of wanted to show, is how, like with gore and everything like that. I stream mainly shooter games, but I enjoy a good book, especially manga. Hell yeah, brother. We'll be moving into the our art arc in October. That's the plan. And we'll be doing some drawing and adding that. I got like a setup that I'm going to have so you guys can see me drawing. It's gonna be good. But yeah, we usually write short stories. We're working on a main novel. We're just trying to improve our writing skills. Hell yeah. So, you know, but it's the ultimate goal of my book would be to get Square Enix to sign off on it as an actual official Final Fantasy either book or series, and maybe have it like be a manga. That would be the ultimate goal for the book if it would ever come true, because that's how true to the vision of Final Fantasy I want this book to be. Just like Expedition 33. Fucking just so fucking peak storytelling. So good. Hell yeah, brother.
The main problem was that it tried
Nice to
to
meet you as
cram
well.
so many different things into the movie. You have space opera, you have romance, you have political intrigue, and in the end, the viewer just feels very bewildered. Now, it's not as though any one of those things was bad, right? They were actually all great story elements, but the trouble is when you try to put them all together.
And that's one thing if you're going for like sci-fi specifically, like sci-fi among all genres has the smallest audience. So, if you're doing, like, high sci-fi with high, like, Dune level, like, technical terms and stuff like that, and, like, world building and stuff, you have a very, very small niche audience that you have to hit very, very hard with your work. That's the one problem I find with sci-fi. Or you can write, like, light sci-fi, like, Three Body Problem. At least the first book. And then you kind of move into more practical, or like Leviathan Wakes with like The Expanse.
And make them all work in a single narrative, the narrative collapses under its own weight. Now, if you've written a novel that seems kind of...
Oh no, my political intrigue murder mystery is a sci-fi. I mean, that's our short story, right? Chiral Clones. It's a medical mystery, psychological horror, government conspiracy, genetic engineering, espionage, and like spy story.
Sinky. I will say that's perfectly okay, right? A lot of rough drafts end up being kitchen sinky, and it takes a good revision process where you whittle away the things that don't belong, where you simplify. That's what gets your book to the publishable level. Number 3, world building vertigo. This is where you create such an...
Okay, here we go. This one's probably where I hit. World building vertigo.
Intricate fictional world of magic and social cultures and world building and languages that the reader tends to get lost. I mean, this is always the trouble in world.
That's why I try to simplify everything as much as possible in the fact of language. Okay, well, even if there's multiple species, language is solved through consciousness. Magic is solved through consciousness. Understanding, communication, all solved through consciousness. What breaks reality and the main character is also related to consciousness. So consciousness is like the foundation. that we build everything on top of. And we minimize everything that we can when we can use consciousness as a simplification method to remove language barriers, other than just simple communication, but just straight up like having multiple languages between so many different species. Having the dragons have created the culture for the beastmen, so despite the fact that there's like 8 or 12 different types of beastmen, all their cultures are relatively the same because they all come from the same source. They've just kind of changed over a period of time. So it's kind of like that's how we've narrowed down most of the world building, is connecting it to a foundational basis that pulls all of the elements under one roof. And that allows everything to be explained super easily without all the confusion of, oh, there's these beastmen who speak these language, only these beastmen know this language. The main conflict is because they don't know the languages. It's like, no, get rid of all that fucking shit. It's just the beastmen. You got tabbed up while I'm gaming. Hope you have an awesome stream. Cubano, thank you, good sir. I hope you enjoy your gaming. Hell yeah, brother.
Give all of this information
I appreciate
so that the
it.
reader feels like they're stepping into this cool new universe, but at the same time, you can't overwhelm them, or else they're going to be like, where's the actual storyline? So a couple of examples on this. Some of you might have read Neil Stephenson's Snow Crash, and to be honest, overall, I think it's a fantastic book, right? It's a seminal book. It's imagination is just off the hook. But there's one part of that novel where he just starts going on and on and on and on about Sumerian languages. And when I got to that part of the book, I'm like, I think this needed a little heavy-handed editor. Just trim a bit of this back. I think he got so caught up in the world building that he forgot to keep the pacing rapid. There's a section in Moby Dick where Melville just drones on a bit long about the size of whale brains and phrenology, which is where you can like interpret personality based on the shape of a skull. Diving a little too deep, Melville. Haha, pun intended. No, but seriously, I think.
Hey there, Intoxication Buddy. Hey, Red Cauldron. How's it going, bro? How's it going today? It's going great, brother. We are doing reacts to basically reasons why your books fail if you don't have these things. And figuring out if we can keep up and pass this test of does our book fall under these categories, and how can we fix them if they are there. Thank you for the follow, good sir. Never met a phrenologist nerd who wasn't weirdly intelligent. Oh, okay. Yes, we do writing and reading. So if you enjoy storytelling, creativity, and just all around, you know, imagination and coming up with, you know, even just the simplest, stupidest stuff. Anything from writing to screenplay to movies to animations, you know, whatever you could consider a story. Life stories, whatever it is. We take all the experience we can get and we look at all the perspectives we can. But what do you do, good sir? What's your hobby? What are you up to? How did you find us? I'm guessing it was through the TLC Discord. That seems to be where everyone's coming from. We seem to be popping off there, which is great. I'm like, holy shit, fuck yeah. Promotion seems to be working, guys. I'm terrible at it, but apparently we're getting somewhere. So exposure is key. Yeah, I discovered you on TLC. Hell yeah, that's super dope. I've been trying to expand my parameters of promoting to see, you know, what people think. Because I feel the content is now at a point where I'm not, you know, what do you call a nervous wreck? I can actually articulate what's going on. I've got all my shit set up. We've got the stream structured, you know. So I feel that now exposing people to it, they're not going to be like, what the fuck is this shit? I'm getting the fuck out of here. Peace, bye. You know what I mean?
Research and forgot about the storyline. That said, I actually love Moby Dick. Or another example,
Dune.
I think everyone would agree that the first book of Dune is just an absolute masterpiece. It's
but then it gets so fucking harsh.
Book 4, book 5. It gets bogged down in an enormous amount of like political and religious backstory. The political and religious systems are so complex that I've had a lot of people tell me like, oh, I hated the rest of the series. Just read the first book.
I absolutely loved especially like the machine machine wars, the whole anti-AI and everything like that. Like, I love that shit. But it takes a very niche audience to want to have a world like that, and I have to have the understanding that just because I want to build a world like that, that is not what the audience necessarily wants. So, that's why it's like, this is what's in my head, this will be what's in the book. And then if you want to read between the lines and find all of the stuff, you can go back and look at all of the backstory and everything behind it. So it's kind of like the idea of having the Silmarillion slipped in between the pages of The Lord of the Rings, instead of the heavy descriptions that Tolkien goes into with, like, physical locations of places and stuff like that.
World building is to give the reader enough information that they can follow and track with the adventures of your protagonist, and also enough that they feel like they are immersed in a world that feels completely foreign than their own.
Yeah, because one of the main problems people do is they want to put everything in, but what truly makes a world feel alive is the same thing. Like, this kind of applies to a lot of things. Like, I hate how people just usually apply it to, like, magic systems, and the idea that the limitations of your magic system show more about your magic system than what it can do. And I think that philosophy should be applied to basically, like, everything. Where it's like, whatever the foundational basis of it is, should be what you're essentially building off of. So if you have something like a political system, you could think of it in the same way of, well, we're going to go into the ads in a sec here. But if you're going to create a world that incorporates the feeling of being alive, things that are outside of the scope and outside of the range of the character, such as, for instance, like, if you look at a real person, how many people have really traveled the entire world? How many people know things about different cultures and stuff like that? And how much of that is a cultural relevance to the culture that they're in because of connected cultures and stuff like that, right? So there's, like, this whole workaround you can do with this premise of the limitations of something equal its, like, equal its definition more than what it can do. So far-off vistas that no one ever visits, that people believe are there, imaginary places in the world that people think exist but that don't. Like for instance, think about the real world. Think about, like, the Hollow Earth theory and, like, Admiral Byrd, Journey to the Center of the Earth, and stuff like that. How there's so much lore, even in our own reality, around the Earth itself. The Hollow Moon theory, everything about the moon and everything like that. Like, all these things that go beyond the scope of just your everyday life and their imaginings. Ads! Fucking ads. Fucking goddamn ads! What? Guys, I don't like ads. I don't like ads. They ruined the flow, bro. They get it down in snow. I'm still here, though. Oh, thank you, thank you. I always feel like talking to myself. But that's kind of like one of the main things you have to, like, probably most likely get used to, that I find was the very first thing that I did as a streamer. Woo! Alright, we are back. Yeah, I'm glad you're still here, Cauldron. One of the main things I would say, like, one of the main tips I would say that I think streamers don't, how do you say it? It's like, The main foundational thing that I think 90% of streamers who could be good aren't good are for this simple reason. You have to always assume that you have an audience. You have to always assume there's someone out there listening to you. And that just has to be your base mentality, no matter what your view count is. And no matter how much chat you have. Because that will always keep you engaged. So when someone comes in, they feel like they're being talked to, even if they don't engage in chat. Gotta keep yapping. Exactly. And that'll keep people engaged, because they'll either... one of the main things is either they'll follow the conversation or they'll try to pick up the conversation, or they'll be like, okay, well, I know you're talking about something, but I don't know what you're talking about, and then that will get them to chat and be like, yo, what are you talking about? And then, you can go back to the roundabout and say, oh, well, I was talking about this, and that led to this, and now we're talking about this, and that's how we get here, and then you can basically do it all over again. If nobody's there, it's gotta be like being on the radio. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You're kind of almost interacting with yourself. That's why I always have kind of stuff pulled up on the side that's like, at least I did before. Now I've been like, we're pretty stacked to the rim, so I don't really do this anymore. But normally I'd have like a list, literally like if I was on like a podcast, like a list of topics to go through to talk about things. And if I had nothing to talk about, I'd just jump to a new topic. And I spent like the first 6 to 8 months of the stream getting comfortable with just talking to the camera and talking to myself and getting used to imagining that there's an audience out there. And eventually over time, guess what, guys? An audience fucking appeared. Holy shit, to my goddamn surprise. And then I'm like, oh my god, I need to fix the stream, and I need to get better, and then I evolve the stream to the point that we are here. And you just keep evolving, keep improving, keep pressing on, keep hoping, and that's pretty much all you can do.
But on the other hand, not so much that you get...
Except for me, because I have psychosocial disability. How does that work, Cauldron? Is that like an over intrusion on a social like level? Like kind of like Asperger's? Or is it like more severe? Psychosocial like Slipknot? Or is that more like hypersocial? Where you just, like, have to engage with people. And you have to be, like, the center of attention kind of thing. Because I've never... I can imagine it, but I've never heard it put in those words. You know what I mean?
Caught up in these minor issues of world building that don't really satisfy your reader. For inspiration...
Inspiration, indigestion.
Indigestion. These are books...
Like I have troubling communications with my audience. Ah. I could see that, yeah. Get, like... One of the hardest things for like communicating is medium. When you're in a medium such as text, it's a lot harder to infer meaning and intent. Whereas body language, voice tone, temperament, lead up can all show context to like emotional response when talking. So learning the difference in medium between like going from being the streamer and being like on camera, having a mic and talking, and responding to an audience that only has the ability to type is a, like, when I don't have any viewers, I usually kept my mouth shut. Yeah. See, that's one of the problems is, like, if you go back and let's actually do an experiment here. Let's go back, let's go back because I have everything, and let's just watch like 45 seconds, and okay, so we've got let's do a random Wukong one. So this was back last year playing Wukong, just a random part in the stream. And it's like, you can clearly tell, like, how nervous I am. I'm, like, sitting there. I'm like, oh my god, I need to say something. But I'm not saying anything. And it's like, you just get comfortable. That's all I can say. Spend time getting comfortable with yourself. And then, as you're getting comfortable with yourself, it will just naturally flow out of you. But if you're never mentally trying to prepare yourself and giving yourself that time, I think that's people's biggest problems. And they can go like, you can go like a year without ever making any progress on that. So I think having the mentality of working on just being comfortable with allowing yourself to just blurt things out, even going like Durbagan inhibitor for Warbagan further in M for up a hook discupator in a just making sounds, like getting yourself comfortable with just saying the same, like testing, check, testing, 1, 2, 3, test, check, test, check, test, check. I tried streaming on my old account and hated it, man. I went for like a month and realized that all that talking to myself to keep myself busy just made me start talking to myself in real life. See, my problem is I talk to myself already in real life. So it's like I might just have a personality that is just better suited to streaming. Which is like, I mean, it is what it is, right? I don't consider myself outgoing, but that's because I hate the fact that when I start to talk to someone, that I usually can't keep a conversation with someone because I bring up topics that either they're not interested in, they don't care about, they're way too beyond their grasp, or they just don't like the topic. And it's like, I can't find middle ground with people. And like talking about reading and writing and books and stuff, most people are just like, cool. What? Cool. Yeah. And I'm like, what's the main character's name? And they're like, huh? I'm like, yeah, exactly. You don't give a shit. Or it's just so mind-boggling. They're like, wait, that's too much. I'm like, I barely said anything. And they're like, no, that's too much for me, man. That's way outside of my scope. I'm well suited to being on camera, but I'm really bad at putting myself on camera. Like I said, the reason for me to start streaming was so I would hold myself accountable. I was like, I need to be able, like, I just sit there and fuck around and do fuck all and just watch Asmon and do nothing. And I'm like, no, I need to hold myself accountable. So I started streaming, and here we are. Fucking like 50 fucking short stories later, fucking an audience later, a year later, and we're way past the point I would ever imagine. Like, I was expecting to not even be where I am now in like 5 or 6 years. Like, that's how unbelievably mind-boggling this is to me, even now. It's like, how do you guys come back every day? I'm so glad that you do, and I appreciate that you do, and I hope that the content continues to improve to a point where we can get more people to stay. But it is still, like, people actually want to listen to me talk. People want to hear what my opinions are. People want to hear my stories. People want to hear me enough for me to be, like, put up with me enough for me to read their stories. I am totally down with that, 100%. Sounds like a fucking awesome time, guys. That's what it's all about.
That are wearing their influence so much on their sleeve that you feel like they're kind of...
And then there's these guys that are just like, man, if only you could put a little bit more effort. Right?
Ripping off the other book. What I see most frequently as editor are Harry Potter lookalikes, and I've read a good number of these novels, both published and unpublished, and they're always...
Nice title. Thanks, Muffin. You should have seen the title earlier. We were helping Sinister set up his stream. How's it going, Muffin? How are you? How's the stream? What checkpoint are you at right now? Let me guess. 43. I'm guessing 43. I hope it's higher than 43, Muffin. But I think you were on like 17 last time I looked. I don't remember. I gave up on that. Got to CP 17 at 2.5 hours. All I remember hearing is... Do, 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 and then I looked, and it was just you hitting the wall, trying to get the glitch to like bounce off the edge, and I'm like, why is he repeating it so fucking fast? But yeah, it was a good time, Muffin. So I'm glad that you gave up on that. That seemed like a fucking joke. But yeah. That was 05. Damn. Yeah, I wasn't paying too much attention because I was working on what we were gonna do today on the stream.
Leaning a little bit too heavily on
later
the
on
Harry Potter framework of the school and magic and an orphan who's suddenly special. It's just a little bit too close for readers to feel like, oh, this author has done something fresh and new. I mean, it's good to be
okay, so 3 fresh and new things from our book. Magic dictated through science and the understanding of reality and the understanding that consciousness can manipulate reality. I've just been hunting the same map for 2 hours or more. I don't know, just got top 400 on it. Nice, Muffin. Not bad, not bad. Under 500, man. That's pretty impressive. And then we have the crystalline tree, which is solidified, crystallized consciousness, and that's the source of magic. And we have the old world being used as dungeons and like quests, which are actually just technological cities buried underground. Night, Sir Ito. Hello, Muffin. Wuffin. For I'm hungry and I'm gonna give you something, perhaps a bite of ya. Angry at me. Thank you for coming into the stream. Always appreciated. Yeah, Rick. Always good. Go support other people. You don't just gotta hang around here, guys. Go support Muffin. Let me give Muffin another shout out. And do it correctly this time without fucking up the spelling. I typed Muffin Muffin. I typed Muffin Muffin. Retarded. I typed Muffin Muffin instead of Cute Muffin. Oh my god. Honestly kind of making me tingly. Damn it, Rick. But how's it going, good sir? How was your day today?
Inspired, right? You actually want to be inspired by an enormous range of books, and you should read really widely.
I'm not cute. I'm just double the size. Fuck you. The way he threatens me.
You don't properly digest it. You read one book, and suddenly that book inspires your book so much that it seems like a copycat. Another example of this is probably the most derivative book I've ever read in the literary world. It was called Red Sky in Morning by Paul Lynch.
Oh, I'll take you on. I'll devour you.
I thought, this is a Cormac McCarthy ripoff, specifically a Blood Meridian ripoff. ripoff. It's based on a historical
Good
event.
sir,
All the
good
characters
indeed.
are
I'm
male.
still
The
streaming.
language that he uses
If you
was
didn't
identical
know.
to Cormac McCarthy.
Yeah, head on
The
over there,
villain was
Rick.
identical to the judge
Everyone
in
head on
Blood
over to
Meridian,
Muffin
down to the
stream.
very
Give him
speeches he gave.
some
The
love.
stories both end in a tragic way down to the main character. And what's sad is that if I hadn't read Blood Meridian, this actually would have been a great book. I really enjoyed it. But the trouble is, because I had read Blood Meridian, this felt like a ripoff. And I'm like, bro, you're really talented, but you have to write your own book. 5. The aesthetic over ethics trap.
Ooh. The aesthetic over ethics trap. I don't know how aesthetics and ethics fit together, but we'll see.
This is when you craft reprehensible characters or situations purely for shock.
Oh, yeah, no, I see. This is what we would call, guys, I don't know if you remember this, but back in like between 2005 and 2015, there was a fad, and it was called torture porns. Saw, Hostel, Stray Dogs, Last House on the Left. Also, pardon me, whom is this guy you're watching? I would like to watch this guy for help and inspiration. Yeah, his name's Bookfox. Here, I will link his profile to you. He is fantastic. He does absolute wonders. He's the main guy we use, and he uploads quite frequently. 3 days, 10 days, 2 weeks. Yeah, he's very consistent, and he's got almost 400 videos. There's a lot of fucking content on this shit. So go give him some love. Go look at his, go give him some likes, some comments, some views and stuff, a subscription. Thanks. Now my anime and shows will be better now. Exactly. He's a professor. He's an editor. He's a writer. He is like an amazing source. And if you want to spend the money, I would recommend going to check out his Bookfox Academy. I'm not willing to spend money, so I'm not going to do it. But I think it, like, from the videos that I've watched, and knowing that if he's doing what I think he's doing and holding back, his Super Saiyan level of content is going to be the paid content on his Bookfox Academy. So I don't think it would be a disappointment or a waste of money to do that. I'm just not willing to spend money when I can do resources for free. Until I've hit, like, a point where my only improvement is that type of knowledge, right? Yeah, my favorite YouTuber so far, 100%.
Value rather than having it contribute to the story as a whole. And I understand why it's easy to do this. Writing shocking things gets a reaction from your readers. It works. The trouble comes when you're not really trying to say something through that violence or sexuality, if there's not a point to it, because then it just starts to seem gratuitous. You're just putting it in there to manipulate the reader rather than it serving the
Oh
intro.
shit!
Why?
What? Why are you smoking?
Senin Gamer, thank you for the follow.
Greater than, less than, less than, less than, greater than Dancing Kirby.
How are you, good sir? Welcome. How's your day going? Are you a reader? Are you a writer? Are you a purveyor of ideas? Do you enjoy creativity and spreading imagination and ideas? We are reacting to traits that predict the failure of novels. And so far, we are passing the test with golden fucking colors.
Interests of the story. I have a movie and a book example for this one, and let's start with the movie Saw. And I'm talking about,
told
the whole
ya.
film
Torture
franchise
fucking
of Saw,
porn.
all the sequels and everything. I think it's a series which focuses so much on the elaborate torture scenes as a way of like getting a reaction from the viewer, rather than saying something meaningful about life or violence or existence or something. And I'm not saying that people don't enjoy that. I'm telling you that if you're crafting that kind of story, you need to have some sort of reason or justification or lesson or insight or
like,
something.
even look at something like Silence of the Lambs with, like, Hannibal Lecter, right? There's a lot to unpack there for the psychology and the reasoning behind it. It's not just an empty I'm a cannibal. It's a crafted experience that has outputted that mentality and framework of a character. That's what makes it so monumentally fantastic.
From the character that gives it a little bit more depth. The second example.
Whereas, like, think of something like I think it's like season 6 or season 7 of The Walking Dead, or pretty much any zombie movie, when it's like the zombies have basically been dealt with and they're no longer the main threat, and it's like the main threat is now like the human civilizations that have been set up, and we all know how everyone survives. It's through fucking cannibalism. And there's some sort of law or something, or people are being like kidnapped and turned into food, and it's just so fucking cliche and done in every single zombie movie that it's like, oh my fucking god, not the fucking cannibals again, right? It's like shit like that. You gotta be creative with it.
Example, which I think does a much better job of this, is A Clockwork Orange.
I've always wanted to do one where it's like, they purposefully taint the food with, like, zombie flesh to, like, turn people into zombies to try and, like, hold control over the city. You know, kind of, like, instigate... a way of instigating martial law in a post-apocalyptic zombie-type world. Where it's like, they purposefully, you know, any dissenter or anything, they basically contaminate their food, turn them into a zombie, and say, see? This is why you don't do it, bro. Send me a link for Discord. You are ready for it? You can just do !Discord, and that will take you to the Discord. Yeah, if anyone wants to, feel free to join the Discord. Callie yesterday just completely reformatted the entire Discord, so it looks fucking beautiful now. We've got bots in there, everything's organized, so feel free to go in and check that out. Really appreciate it. We're trying to build the Discord now. That would be amazing. Funny idea. A god/goddess is so frustrated with the disdain for differently oriented people, so they change all gay women into cat girls, gay men to dog boys, and every bi person becomes a foxkin. Damn, Sean. I love it. That's a good one, bro. And then it's like, you're kind of like... It's like, you don't... Everyone's born human, but when you hit puberty, that's when, like, your traits start to come out. Sean, could you imagine doing that? Having that the main arc of the story? Or of the world? Have a story based around the goddess and, like, people, like falling out of worship with her or something like that, so like a religious almost background, and have that like the main point of the story is like you know, religious ritual in order to please this god or goddess in order to maintain this type of world. All the demi-humans are twice as strong and fast as humans, the same size and athletic shape too. Nice, Sean. And at puberty they just gain those traits based upon like their personality, right, at the time. And how they're, like, meant to be. Very interesting. And then use like, to complement it, use the twins. The transsexual twins. But have them as straight, so they're still human, but they're still jealous of the other gender. So you have this entire encompassing, not just singular around it, but also body dysmorphia as well played in with the demi-humans to add in this extra little bit of spice to the story. Spice is the wrong word in this case. If you're thinking like sexual, not that kind of spice. I mean spice in the spice of life. Things that season your story. Not smut spice. It's not what we're talking about.
By Anthony Burgess. Now, I'm not talking...
No denying what they are either. Naturally, the people who identify as the other gender switch to goblins of the correct gender. No faking it. I love that, Sean. This world sounds fucking hilarious. Spice as in seasoning. I thought you were white. No, Levi. I am very much not white. I was very much raised brown. You should see how much the very much it is for a good go at spice. But I don't know. Don't know exactly what you're talking about, though. So I am just inferring that you mean that we use some other word for spice as seasoning. As in, like, we'd only use salt and pepper because we are white. Only white people only use salt and pepper and cinnamon. They don't use paprika. They don't use garlioli. They don't use what's another ridiculously uncommon herb? Starred anus. Ooh. White is an understatement for me. I make sour cream look like it's got a sunburn. True, Sean. If I didn't have to go outside, I wouldn't go outside.
About the American version, which is 20 chapters long, and I'm not talking about the movie version. I'm talking about the 21 chapter British version. So this is a book which contains tons of ultraviolence. I mean, horrific things happening to very innocent people. But I think at the very end, Burgess really rescues it because he has Alex get captured. So there's some sort of punishment for his violence. And in the end, he grows up and he turns away from that life of ultraviolence. He carries.
Oh, he's talking. I didn't realize he was talking about Clockwork Orange. Dude, Clockwork Orange is one of the best stories for character like redemption. I absolutely agree with Bookfox here that it was this was probably one of the hardest movies for me to watch, but it's one of the strongest movies I've ever watched. Like watching him like just the way that they did it, like smashing the chick's face in with like the dick statue or whatever is the dick like whatever it is, right? And like the way that he kills the guy's wife and everything, it's like it's so fucked. But to have everything come back on him and make Alex become the hero at the end is actually fucking phenomenal writing. I was friends for a while with an actual sociopath who was obsessed with this movie. This movie is so fucking good, man. It's like it has such a play on so many different things. It's so good.
Picture of a child symbolizing that he wants to get married and have like a respectable life. In the end, there's a very strong message that there is a possibility of people who have chosen ultraviolence to turn away from that violence and be integrated into society. Now, I'm not saying the ending of your book has to be a happy ending or show the character changing in an unbelievable way, but I'm saying you should have some sort of point if you're going to show crazy amounts of violence. 6, dialogue ventriloquism.
Dialogue ventriloquism. Oh, is this like putting your own voice into your characters and having your characters just be like one voice? While gamers get their asses handed to them, destroying their rep when they choose to ignore their homework to game, and their opponent is titled Man. Imagine their surprise when they learn that MAN is Mad Ass Nanny, who caught them gaming, so took them to task in game. I love it, Sean. That's great.
This is where every single character in a book basically...
And it's got to be like the swearing fucking old granny, and she's on like voice chat and shit. And it's like after she whoops their asses, she comes on and just fucking swears the shit at them, tells them to get the fuck off video games. Little fucking kids. Ads! Oh... Okay, we got ads, boys. But that's okay. We'll get through it. Oh, it's not that bad. It's only ads, guys. Give me your 12 cents. Give me your 12 cents. It's my counter to the gamer girl guy in real life. There's so many good satires that just aren't used. Like, so many people use so many old satires, but there's so many good satires that have arisen since, like, Gen Z. And, like, the internet and, like, memes and, like, video games and, like, people growing up with the internet. There's, like, this whole new culture around it that we need to get into this almost mood of incorporating into, like, this fear of making fun of shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just 12-year-olds on Xbox. It's fucking 12-year-olds on Roblox, right? So if you're wondering why I've been playing the same map for almost 3 hours, just have a look and you'll know. Well, you're paused. How can I look? How can I look if you're paused, bitch? Tend to play female characters in video games because at least in the past they nerfed the game when girls played, and I'm always going to take advantage of an easier run. I always play a chick because I just stare at the character's ass the whole time. In the case of Lune, though, I just stared at her feet the whole time. But, you know, you gotta pick one or the other, right? Pick your poison. Damn, Muffin, you're going on almost 9 hours. But this map seems pretty fucking fun, though. So I could definitely see why you would be doing this for, like, multiple hours. Like, it seems like a lot of fun. It's a really cool map. Very intricate. Got a lot of those, like, I could see... It's probably taken you a long time to figure it out. Unemployment behavior. Guys, he's still in school, okay? And remember, it's Australia, so it's probably, like... It's what? 5 p.m. for him? Like 4 or 5 p.m. He just got off school. Now he's got his time. He probably finished his fucking homework, and now he's just playing video games. Oh wait, it's Saturday there. Oh, it's Saturday there. Because it's ahead, right? So it's actually Saturday. So he's been playing all day, and it's a Saturday. That makes more sense. Because I was like, wait, 9 hours. He started at 4. That means he started at 9. Yeah, that doesn't work. Speed plus precision equals my kind of thing. Hell yeah, Muffin. Just barely skirting around those corners. Fucking love it. I was saying something about something before the ads came on. But fuck it.
Sounds like the same person. So it's the author being a ventriloquist and throwing their voice onto every single character.
Yeah. Number 6. Dialogue. All right. All characters sound the same.
Ventriloquism. This is where every single character in a book basically sounds like the same person. So it's the author being a ventriloquist and throwing their voice onto every single character. Ideally, you want the author to be able to channel original voices for every single character, right? I think a good example of this would be Aaron's.
I mean, it's a little bit racist, but guys, this is me. Then there is very much a me where I go like, oh yes it does. And there's like the me that's like, you guys got get done there what you done do's, right? Then there's me, the, you know, top sophisticated, almighty, know it what it is, 'cause we got to do it kind of guy that just goes right. Give each guy a fucking accent, put him in a fucking different place, we got everything good to go, boys. We don't have to worry about none of that. It's a good time. Let's get her. But my thing is, like, with the character profiles, like, picking the 5 words that they, like, most generally use, and using that to structure it. So it's like, what you can pick out those words that no other character ever says. Like, that's kind of how I'm going to, at least at this moment, that's how I imagine I'm going to use the characters. So you can tell who's talking based upon which one of those 5 words they choose, which would be like a noun, a verb, an adjective, an adverb, and like something random. So that you can work it in pretty much anywhere in their dialogue, right?
Sorkin's The West Wing. Everyone has these rat-a-tat clever one-liners, and if you really listen to everyone's dialogue, it all sounds like Aaron Sorkin. This is the guy who wrote The Social Network as well, and I think you can see those dialogue tendencies in that film as well. I'd say the Twilight series by Stephanie Meyer is another example of this, where if you just take out all the dialogue and put it all in a separate sheet, it all kind of sounds alike. But I feel like of all the mistakes on this page, this honestly might be one of the easiest ones to solve. I mean, why not just give one character a lisp, or make one have a regional accent? Give one person a drawl, make one character curse a lot, give one character a catchphrase, make one character speak very formally, like the butler in The Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro. Look, if this is something that you struggle with, I'd actually recommend that you take my dialogue course in the Bookfox Academy. I give a lot of exercises and lessons in how to make sure your character sounds only like your character. In other words, they sound differently than all the other characters. Check that out. I'll put a link in the description that you can follow. 7, metaphor overdose. Okay, I should say right off the bat that I don't hate metaphors and similes, right? I think they're beautiful, wonderful things, and you should definitely include them in your writing. On Bookfox, I actually have a list of the 100 best metaphors ever written, and you should give that a read. It honestly is very inspiring for your own writing. But I will say that I've read some published books, and also some unpublished books, where the author's gotten a little too metaphor/simile crazy. There are so many flowery comparisons, I start to lose sight of the story and the characters, and I just think, oh wow, this is quite
I'm in the Discord
elaborate.
now. Nice, Bomb Dropper. Did you get yourself a nice anime waifu? Did you go pick up a nice waifu? Callie, he joined. Where's the welcome message? There should be a welcome message. There was a channel for it earlier, I swear. Like introduction or something like that. I don't know what Callie did. I mean, we had one. It was supposed to welcome you to the server. But anyways, welcome to the server. Thank you for joining. Super appreciate it.
Once I read this short story in a literary magazine.
I got the
remember
message
name
that
of
you
the
sent,
author of
bro.
the short story, but there were probably 400 metaphors and similes in 4,000 words. I mean, it was every single sentence. And so this was the author's shtick, you know? This is what he did. It was his style. I looked up some of his other stories and he always did this. But you know what I got from that story? I got from this story is this author thinks he's smart and he wants me as a reader to think he's smart too. I don't think that should be the takeaway of your story or your book. Really, what you want to channel all the attention to is your storyline.
In the DI? Do you mean DMs? Yeah, right here. Bomb Dropper. Hello. Then there's the waifu game, which I don't want to click on stream because it's NSFW. We have the word game, the Taco Shack, and the Disboard. Okay. Oh, I missed this, Sean. Okay, I read a title on RR that I have to share because I'm sure your mind will go pretty close to where mine did. Nom inside me. DM. Okay, DMs. Not seeing you anywhere, Bomb Dropper. Can you send me a friend request? Add friend. There you go. I don't know if that is meant to be gnome or not, though. Either way, it's funny as heck, right? Gnome inside me. I mean, I don't think it's, like, I don't know, I guess. Unless I'm missing something here, Sean. Not quite sure what the humor of this is. Without the G, it said like nom inside me. It's like, okay, well, is this talking about food? It's a story about food? There's someone's getting eaten out, or else there's some other indecency happening. That's what I thought. Gnome inside me. Yeah, definitely some smut. Okay, bomb dropper. What do you need, brother? That you can't say on the server or in the chat, so you're DMing me on Discord, bro.
The character struggles is to the emotion that you want your reader to feel. So look, cut down those metaphors and similes. Go through your book and only use the ones that are absolutely necessary, that really compare two unlike things, and that actually contribute to the reader's understanding of the story. Number 8, lack of character motivation. Why is the most important question you can ask of a character? Why are they doing this and not that? Why are they taking
Husai's character motivation is, oh shit, I think I'm being blackmailed. So he's kind of running away, kind of investigating, but he needs to get out of the place that he's at. Varius has always wanted to go on an expedition, so he's going. The Viceroy just stepped down, he wants to leave the tree, so his is more of a, like, you know... I just want to get out and experience the world. I've never left the tree, and this is the only time I'm ever going to be able to. But stuff like that. Welcome back, Rick. How's it going, brother? I thought you were in Muffin's stream.
Any action in your story. It's fine if your character doesn't know their motivations, right? As long as the reader can either guess at what their motivations might be, or if you're keeping it a secret and later on you're going to reveal their true motivations. I think a great example of this failing is the movie called
Just lurking in there.
If you don't know about this movie, it's famous for being the best, worst movie of all time. I mean, it's atrocious, but it's hilarious because it's just so bad. It was made into a movie called The Disaster Artist with Dave Franco, but I encourage you to go back and watch the original. It is wild.
Honestly,
anyway,
pretty tired,
there's a
though.
scene where they're
True,
throwing a
Rick, it's
football
pretty
around
late.
inside, like 5 feet away from each other, and randomly, a character named Mark pushes a character named Mike. Why? I don't know. There is so much in that movie where you're looking for motivation and you're like, I do not know why that character just did that. And by watching it, you realize how essential and important character motivations are. I also think it's really interesting when motivations
watch your streams at like 2 or 3 a.m. is the best
particularly
work for like
petty
4.
or funny. There was an episode of Supernatural where an angel went back in time and stopped the Titanic from sinking. Now, what was the motivation of that? Oh, you're thinking this angel wanted to like save lives and prevent a tragedy. No, it was because this angel really, really hated My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion. And so they wanted this song never to exist. And so they saved the Titanic from sinking. That is some kind of motivation right there, but it still worked, right? I mean, it's a crazy motivation, but it's still a motivation. 9, temporally short-sighted.
Temporally short-sighted.
This is a story that's so fixated on its present moment that the characters don't seem to have a life before the storyline or any sort of future after the storyline. If we know nothing about your character's past, that is not going to feel like a real person. It's going to feel
I had to sleep now since the boss says my productivity is good but slow. I need a little pep in my step, they says. Perhaps another day. Sounds good, Rick. Take care. Have a good night. Playing old Minecraft right now and just got reminded that breaking stairs gives blocks. So you have to, like, remake the stairs?
Feel like a cipher, a made-up character. Now, it is fine that if it's a mystery, you're keeping it for later on in the book, as long as at some point the reader gets a sense this person lived a life before this point. And I'll also say you don't have to explicitly go into backstory and reveal huge swaths of this person's life if you just give a sense that, oh, this person had a life before. If you just allude to...
And that's basically what we're doing with the fact that Husai's gathering his old party that he used to work with. Those are like the main characters, are the people that he basically grew up with that he hasn't seen in like 20 or 30 years. Or he's only seen like occasionally there. As well as the fact that he, you know, gave up being an adventurer to be more than an adventurer. He saw more in himself than just, you know, being the top adventurer. He could be the bridge between the tree and the Adventurers Guild. And, like, a political icon, basically.
It doesn't have to be heavy-handed or take up a lot of space in the book. A good exercise is to sketch out a timeline of your character's life, just so you know what has happened over the course of their life, so you don't make silly errors like getting a former job wrong or something like that. In Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan, she actually does a great job of focusing on the present moment story with the father, but also talking about his struggles with an absent father and worrying about the future for his daughters. You can also do the opposite of this mistake, where you focus so much on backstory that it overwhelms and overshadows the present moment story. So you have to ask yourself what mistake you're making. Are you focusing so much on the present that you're forgetting the past? Or are you focusing so much on the past that you don't have enough dramatic moments in the present? Number 10 is the gotcha.
Gotcha spiral. Uh-oh. The gotcha
spiral. This is a story that relies so much upon plot twists that it starts to feel a little bit contrived, and the reader starts to feel a little manipulated. It's an impulse toward have constant surprises, but if those surprises
M. Night Shyamalan,
it's gonna feel false. I'm not gonna mention the books that I'm thinking of because, hey, who knows? Maybe you read these books and you enjoyed these books. But I will talk about some of the common problems that you get when you rely too heavily on surprises. One, sometimes the reader feels manipulated. They know what you're doing, they can see what you're doing, and it's a surprise not because it's intrinsic to the
two greatest surprises ever that people told me multiple times ahead of time, but I didn't understand them. In The Sixth Sense, when people said that Bruce Willis is dead, it didn't matter how many times people said that. It took me actually watching the movie when I was like 16 to be like, oh, Bruce Willis is dead. I'm fucking retarded. It just didn't click. I didn't understand what people meant by Bruce Willis is dead until the final scene of the fucking movie, where I was like, wait. And then I had to watch the beginning of the movie again and be like, wait, he got shot in the beginning of the movie. Oh my god, it makes so much sense. Or the second one, fuck, what was the second one? Fuck. Really big twist at the end. But you feel satisfied with the twist. How did I blank on this? Fuck. When I lose my train, boys, that train derails like a motherfucker. No idea whatsoever.
Story, but because they know that you're trying to get a rise out of them. Ideally, you want the author to be behind the curtain so that the reader doesn't think, oh, the author's trying to do this to me now. And if the reader can sense the author hiding behind the curtain and pulling all the levers, then the surprise isn't quite as fulfilling.
Oh, Fight Club. Everyone said that they're the same person. And I'm like, what do you mean they're the same person? And they're like, he's hallucinating. He's the same person. He's crazy. I'm like, what? I don't understand. And then watching the movie and realizing, oh, it's a split personality because he's an insomniac and he created a separate personality so he wouldn't have to, like, compartmentalize his brain to feel like he was sleeping. And that's due to a mental disorder. That makes tons of sense, but it still didn't click until I watched it. And it's like, those are great, fantastic twists.
Second reason a lot of...
That's where I take, like, the inspiration of what my twist is, right? You can hint at it, you can almost throw it in the person's face, you can say it, but until you experience it, you truly won't fit the pieces together.
Surprises can fail is that the reader sees them coming. This is part of the problem with M. Night Shyamalan movies, is he made so many movies that have this huge twist in them,
that you just
the
know.
Sixth Sense, obviously, that viewers started to expect those twists, and they started to, like, see them coming more easily because they know, like, oh, this is the guy that does lots of twists. In the end,
that's what I like to do with my short stories, though, but the twists are always on a moral compass of some kind, right? So, and they're, like, super short, and you should be able to see the twists coming in some of them. Some of them are super abstract and fucked up, like the animal torture one that was actually plants that were tortured kind of idea.
I think that made his movies a little bit too predictable. A third reason that too many surprises might not work is that you didn't earn all of the surprises. By earn, I mean there needs to be little clues beforehand where a reader can look back and see, oh, okay, it all makes sense. As opposed to having zero clues and then just upending their expectations for the story, they're gonna feel a little abused and a little taken advantage of. So in general, it's better to just have one or two twists rather than like a whole series of twists in a row, but make sure that the twists that you have, that you really earn them by laying clues throughout the whole story. Fourth reason why a bunch of surprises might not work is that I do think it reduces the ability to reread with pleasure. If the majority of the pleasure that you give in your book is simply...
That's why the twist is the rewatchability. After learning the twist and knowing everything, you can go back and read the book again and find all those tiny little nuanced things that you never would have paid attention before. And it's the idea of, like, going back in, like, a Dark Souls game or something and reading the armor descriptions of certain items, or, like, actually following NPC dialogue without fucking just randomly killing them. And, like, you learn more about the world that you didn't before because you weren't as invested. But now you're like, oh my god, I'm super invested. So going back and rereading it is like a new game plus.
The reversal, where the reader is surprised, then they're not going to be able to reread that and feel the same pleasure as they did the first time. Number 11, checklist character development. This is when characters feel like they've been built by just going down a checklist. Sort of characters 101. What should my character have? Oh, they need to have a certain color hair, a certain color eye. We need to know what clothes they're wearing. They need to have a hobby, and they need to have one other thing. Characters built in this way, they feel like they've been built by an algorithm or by AI, rather than having the sort of contradictory vitality.
My AI girlfriend is now helping me save money, sleep better, and exercise more. Should I just marry her? Callie, 100% marry her. Lock that shit down, brother.
Of being an actual human being. Here's some examples of a checklist character.
I don't think our characters are checklist characters, but our characters are checklist characters. Does that make sense, guys? Like, if I pull up character profiles, right? So the new one that we did is Hector Bridge. This is the new character, Hector Bridge. This is a profile. So his theme is trust betrayed. Hector's life hinges on trusting systems, civic duty, science colleagues, only to be shattered by government's deception, turning his faith into a source of torment. Unspoken rule. Loyalty to duty ensures stability. Hector's belief fulfilling obligations like jury duty keeps society and his life in order, a belief now weaponized by his captors. Core belief. Trust in others defines your humanity. Hector values connection and reliability, seeing trust as what separates humans from chaos. And you've got, like, the contradictory core belief, the backstory, and everything like that, right? So it's like we build everything off of these original premises that we've selected. Like, if there's a selection bias, right? For instance, you don't want the weak, timid character to be in the position that's supposed to be a fucking badass. People won't believe that, right? So you kind of have to build the character around the story. So I took what is happening to the character in the story, and I said, how do these events relate to a life? And then I added those aspects of a life to the character to make the character fit the story. And that's kind of a piece of what we're going to be doing after this. So that's like a little tease of the what we're doing today, which is basically showing how we can move between these things and evolve them.
Orphan, but truly special and talented. Inside a romance, if you have a man who's in finance, trust fund, 6'5", blue eyes, come on, that's a checklist character. To avoid a checklist character, work on giving your character surprising character traits. Sometimes these are contradictory traits, like a rich man who doesn't spend any money. Sometimes these are character traits which are out of character for them. For instance, imagine a really cool, hip, smooth woman who plays the accordion. I always loved this character building in Parks and Rec, where it was revealed one season that Ron Swanson snuck out to a jazz club where he plays jazz saxophone under the name Duke Silver. Somehow that reveal was both deeply surprising and also true to his character. And the 12th and final mistake
Subtext is everything syndrome. Uh-oh, we might have this one, guys.
is subtext is everything syndrome. This is when you make your story so subtle and elusive that it's kind of...
I sent some poetry in Discord. Did you check it out? Let's see. I ain't a fighter, sup, my friend writer. That's what I saw there, but what was there? Anything else? In the poetry section here. Okay, let's see this. We do poetry here? I'm gonna try some as well. Title, Insane, inspired by my stupid, negative Riz friend. When you're working on something, you feel pain, but when you reach the end, you finally get the gain. We will reach the pinnacle and rebuild the terrain, but my friend, I would have to put you in restraint. If we feel the journey, we will do it again. After that, we will reach the arcane. Not too special, not too perfect, just plain. My darling, without you, I would go insane. Damn! Holy shit, bro. That was some shit. I love it. Fuck yeah.
impenetrable to the reader. Basically, you're mistaking being obscure for being profound. Now, don't get me wrong, subtext is great, right? Subtext is an essential technique to make your story.
Fucking ads. It tells a story, Bomb Dropper. It fills an essence. It gives a tone. There's almost this sense of, like, loss at the beginning that's kind of, like, regained. Where it's, like, almost like having an argument, and now you're kind of getting over it and getting to, like, the apologizing stage. It's like, you know, you gotta work on your problems kind of thing. That's the feel I get out of it. I don't know what your intent with it was, but that's what I get out of it. It feels very personal.
story better, so that the story doesn't just exist on the surface, but there's layers that you can peel back to better understand that story. And if this is something you really want to get better at, I would recommend that you read The Art of Subtext by Charles Baxter. It is thick, it is dense, but it's also just packed with great nuggets that will help you introduce more subtext into your writing. But the purpose of this point is to talk about writers who end up going too far with subtext. And I see this quite often in my work.
I
as an
probably
editor,
do this.
where a writer has alluded to something or hinted at something, and
yeah, like, how many times have I thought in my head when I'm writing these stories that I just need at the end the one line to just fill it out. Oh, but he was dead. It was nothing but the voices in his head. Nah, just thinking of it now. Well, I enjoyed it.
As a reader, I'm thinking, I don't get what you're going for. I don't understand where you wanted me to go with this story or what you wanted me to think. And so I have to gently tell them, okay, I think you were trying to make me feel this, but I think you need to make it a little more explicit. Make it a little less subtexty. Ultimately, the danger with too much subtext is that the reader's gonna feel confused. So there's this fine line you have to walk where you don't want to be so blatant and explicitly say your themes or the subtext, obviously. But at the same point, if you're too elusive, then no one's gonna get it. I do think that commercial writers need to work on putting more subtext into their fiction, while literary writers need to make sure that the subtext that they have is still understandable.
True. Alright, guys, we made it through the video. Isn't that amazing? We made it through the fucking video. Alright. So, this is the video. Go give Bookfox a view, a comment, a like. Go give him some love, guys.